Hey team, so this is not the video that I wanted to make on these RGBIC Jimjoy rock lights. And the reason I say that is because the Jeep's not done being painted. You can tell I'm painting some things here. And I wanted to get some rolling shots, make the video fancy, but too many people are asking how the install went, what it looks like, and stuff like that. So here we are. I'm currently in wide angle, and I've got the light on just so I can kind of show you guys the brightness of it. Speaking of the brightness, yes, it is bright. There are 16 total rock lights, so of course it should be bright, right? Because there's 16 of them. And the way that I've got them installed is not ideal for me. I think if I was to do it over again, I would probably do strips instead of rock lights, and here's why. I've got one wire coming up here and the other one here, and then they tie into each other this way, right? Because that way they can sequence and do this Mario Kart Rainbow Road type of effect. And you can change these effects. You can strobe, flash, you can just do a solid color, you can do white, you know what I mean? It does all that. But anyway, yeah, I think just having one wire come up and be a strip would have been a better thing, but rock lights are supposed to be durable instead of those strips. So here we are with the rock lights. Now this other wire here, that's for my MIC tuning rock lights. Now those are pretty popular, right? You can tell that those aren't on right now. And I've got, I think, 6 on one side. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, I have 7. I have 7 MIC tuning rock lights on the driver's side and 7 MIC tuning on the passenger side. But here with the Jimjoy RGBIC rock lights, and there is a difference, there's 8 on the driver's side and 8 on the passenger side. Right now, you're only looking at the Jimjoy RGBIC rock lights. And the reason why is because these are the ones that I normally would run. I would normally just run these because it's got the safety feature built in. Like if I hit the brake light with my foot here, you can see how it overrides to just red, right? And then I release my foot, turns off the red brake light, goes back to whatever I had, set prior, where it was a white light, or in this case, it's the Rainbow Road Mario Kart type of look. And then there's the turn signals, of course. If we turn on the flashers, you can see that these guys flash. So I'm a huge fan for these safety features, especially if you've ever been rear-ended like I have. You kind of get a little bit of PTSD. And so I figured I want to take any advantage that I can grab. I want to take advantage and, do as much safety as I can to be seen on the road when I do hit my brake lights. So yeah, there's that. The way that the install has gone, let me see if I can turn on the flashlight here, but let me cut the video. Okay, so we're out of wide mode on my camera. But here you can see, if I turn the flash on, you can see I've got magnets on here, right? And that's what I did. I put magnets on these guys so that I could move them around if I wanted to. Now these are discs. They're a little bit lower profile. These are longer because when I made this rear bumper, I made a hole so I could put the rock light inside of it. The problem is my hole is just not big enough. You can see I've got one hole here, and I've got the other hole here, one for the MIC tuning rock light, and the other one for the Jimjoy RGBIC. I need to Dremel this hole out. That way I can have this thing sit in here nice and flush. It's supposed to go just like that. So anyway, project, right? As you guys can see, this Jeep is a project. The tailgate's off right now, and the tailgate it's over here being painted. But this is what it looks like with the lights on. Let me go back to wide angle here. There we are, back to wide angle. And the Jimjoy rock lights, just like the MIC tuning rock lights, I've got one Jimjoy rock light here, one MIC tuning rock light here. That's not on, as you guys can see. MIC tuning rock light here, Jimjoy RGBIC rock light here. The difference between the RGBIC rock lights and the MIC tuning rock lights is that these are addressable, so you can do these type of sequences where they just kind of flow, like Rainbow Road and Mario Kart. You can do different type of sequences like that. It's very fluid, and you can't do that with regular rock lights. That's not why I bought these. I bought these for the turn signals and the brake light function all being built into the system. When you do that, you have to have certain rock lights in the front, the sides, and the rear. The rear don't have a connection point at the end of them, right? So you have 8 on one side, 8 on the other. You get the trailing effect that I talked about earlier. So there's one There's number 2, number 3 down here, number 4, number 5, 6 and 7 are up in here. And then last but not least, number 8, not the ideal location that I wanted installed at, but I've got to widen my holes in my custom bumper in order to get these to sit flush. And I want them to sit flush because when I go off-road, right, and I'm getting off of rocks and stuff like that, I don't want a rock coming up here and smashing into this guy. But since this thing is inside the garage for now, and it's gonna be for a while, I don't have to worry about the off-road stuff and smacking this thing into rock lights. Let me show you guys what this looks like compared to the MIG tuning and why I believe that the MIG tuning is brighter. But here's the MIG tuning turned on. So the MIG tuning, as you guys can see in this video, is completely overpowering as far as brightness is concerned, the JimJoy RGBIC, because you can't really see that trailing effect, right? You don't really see that trailing effect with the 3 MIG tuning rock lights on the side here. If we take a look at the passenger side, you'll see the same thing, what I'm talking about. This passenger side on the MIG tuning rock lights. MIG tuning rock lights are just brighter. You don't really see that trailing effect. So yeah, they are brighter. However, they don't have the safety feature built into them, and they don't have that fluid type of individually addressable LEDs. So that's why I normally just run the JimJoy RGBICs. Currently, the MIG tuning, the way that I've got them installed is pink, blue, pink, blue, pink, and then blue on the other side. And you can, of course, you can change those colors too. You know, you can make them all white. You can make them just solid blue. They'll flash as well, but they don't have that addressable feature, and they don't have the safety feature built in like these JimJoy RGBIC rock lights have. So yeah, I hope to make an updated video showing you guys this thing on the road, you know, a little bit more of a dramatic, more of a fun video that's really shows off the turn signal features and shows the brake lights from a different perspective than just sitting here inside the garage with me having to put my foot on the brake. But yeah, if you guys have questions, please let me know. I will tell you that I've been sanding, and when I sand, let's change this out of the wide camera feature. Okay, we're out of the wide view. So I've been sanding, and with the flash on, you can see my sanding, it really has picked up the metal shavings from where I've been sanding and where I've been cutting and stuff like that. So food for thought that if you're gonna do the magnets like I did, you wanna be mindful that you may need to clean them every now and then. Now yours aren't gonna be as bad as mine unless you're gonna be, you know, dremeling and sanding sheet metal and stuff like that. And you can see why I've been dremeling and sanding here. So yeah, they will pick up metal shavings if you're gonna be working on your Jeep. But I love the magnet idea. I didn't just do it for the JimJoy RGBICs, I also put on the MIG tuning as well. So yeah, you know guys, if you got questions, please holler at me. Let me show you what this looks like with the lights off, which is more in tune of where it's gonna be in its element right at night. But at least you guys can see how bright they are with the light on. Oh yeah, the garage light's still on. Nice. Let's turn that off. There we go. And let's turn the flash off. So this gives you a better idea of what these guys look like when there's no lights on. The garage light just turned on because it sees me walking past here. But yeah, massive fan of these JimJoy RGBICs, strictly just from the safety feature built in with the brake lights and the turn signals. To me, that was absolutely worth the price of admission. And I can't help but wonder, are these the Frugal man's XKAlpha? I'm gonna leave you guys to ponder that idea. Yeah, leave some comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. Hey guys, wanted to do an unboxing video for you. This JimJoy RGBIC rock light is different than other rock lights because this rock light integrates with your brake lights and your turn signals. It has brake light and turn signal override. To me, that is very, very smart. Do you have to use that feature? No, you don't have to use that feature. If you do decide to use that feature, just know that you've got your work cut out for you a little bit more than the others that are not going to be using that feature. So keep that in mind. This is using the Magic Lantern app, which is available both on the Apple Store as well as the Google Play Store. I've used it. It's fine. You know, it's meh. It's like every kind of run-of-the-mill
LED controller. Now, of course, it does do the dream color, which is the dynamic, which, as you can see here, has got that ambient lighting that can rainbow effect and change colors. If you've ever played Mario Kart and you know that rainbow road, it's kind of like that. So the app is dismal if you compare it to the XKAlpha by XKGlow. That this app is dismal compared to that one. That app is far superior. But this is like what? This is like an eighth of the cost, or a tenth of the cost. So I love the fact that this rock light incorporates with your turn signals and your brake lights, especially for currently the price is $149.99. I think they've got like a 10% discount as well, or something. They're always doing some kind of discount, it seems like, on Amazon. Yeah, it just kind of walks you through the connection diagram, brake signal, the left turn, the right turn, yellow wire, left turn is the green wire, and then the brake signal looks like it's the blue wire. I forget how I have mine wired up. That being said, there's 16 rock lights that come in here. Bananas. This, for me, I tossed it. I'm not going to use something like this. You might, but if I'm going to spend the time installing these, I'm going to spend the time to do it right, where I don't want to see something like this on my interior. I'd rather have this connected to a rock switch. So for me, this goes in the trash, or I could use it on another project. This is the main control box. This main control box right here, it's got the QR code in order for you to download the Magic Lantern app. This is where main power comes in. And then again, there's the green wire and the blue wire. The yellow wire, those are all for the turn signal, and then you got your red and black. You got the red and black wire for the power wire. So power comes in to the box, to the control box, and then it goes out these two wires right here. I think that's a 5-pin, if I remember correctly. I think these are 5 pins. Is it 4-pin? I can't tell. That's 4-pin. Okay, so never mind. They're 4 pins. I thought they were 5, but they're 4. I'm not going to get into all this, but this essentially just has your rock lights. Eventually, you are going to come to 2. You're going to come down to 2 rock lights which only have 1 input instead of an input and an output on the other side. All of these have an input and an output because, of course, you've got that color chasing, that rainbow effect. If you want to use it, you can always just do a solid color, of course. But you have to have them in the correct sequence. So at the end of your vehicle, you will find, or you should use the 2 rock lights that only have 1 input rather than the input and the output. So before you install these, wire everything up and test them. Test to make sure everything works. Lay them out on the ground as if you were going to install them in the areas that you want to install them, just to make sure that you've got enough wiring and enough length for your vehicle. These worked fine for the Jeep Wrangler. I never needed any extensions. They come with 3M adhesive tapes. I would not use that. Okay, I need to repeat that for some of you. Please do not use the 3M adhesive tape, especially on a Jeep Wrangler where you're going to be doing off-road. You're going to be getting into some mud. You may get into some bouncing around on rocks. This is a trash idea. Don't do that. You could take the route that I took, which is doing some JB Weld on the bottom of the rock light, and then you install some magnets. That, of course, is going to take time, and some of you aren't going to want to do that, so I understand. But these rock lights do have holes on the sides of them, right there, where you could drill them. So I would imagine that some of you could just use some self-tapping screws. There are screws that come in the box. I wouldn't use them. They're not self-tapping. But that being said, this is a very, very quick unboxing. And now let's show you guys how I've got mine installed.
So part of this install, I'm going to have to cut right here. I'm going to cut this fuse off. That way I can feed it through the firewall of the Jeep. And the only reason I have to do that is because they say that this needs to be inside the vehicle, not outside the vehicle. I'm assuming maybe because of heat. Not really sure. But I'm going to go ahead and follow the directions. I'm going to feed this through the firewall. And in order to get that through the hole of the firewall, I'm going to cut this guy out. Then I'll end up rejoining these wires. That way there's still a fuse. So if you're anything like me, trying to get into the firewall is going to be a bit difficult because I've got 3 amps running through there along with some other wires. So I'm going to use the zip tie, feed the zip tie in, and then I'll be able to stick my wires on the zip tie with some tape and then bring them through the firewall. So we've got our power and ground ran through here. I want to point out that because we snipped the fuse, this power wire would have gotten caught in the firewall hole because, again, my firewall hole is pretty packed in with a whole bunch of wires in there. 3 amps and then 2 or 3 miscellaneous wires. So that being said,
If you're going to follow my directions and do what I did, you're going to want to cover up this wire, because if not, then this power wire would have ended up peeling away from the ground wire, and I really don't want to mess with loose wire. I'd much rather have it like this, where it's nice and tight together. The next thing that we want to prepare for is getting the turn signals and the brake light to get tied into our existing turn signal and brake light wire from the vehicle. Now, some of you could do this in the front. I'm going to choose to do it in the rear because I've already got the carpet removed in the rear because I've got some custom-made taillights. So, that being said, I'm going to check my measurements and then I'm going to run some wiring from here going all the way back. You can tell the box is not fully up here yet. I don't want to do that just yet. I still have to run these two, and so that's what we're going to do next. We're going to run one at a time. I have to run them one at a time. And the reason for that is, again, because my firewall hole has got 3 power wires that are pretty thick for my amplifiers that are in here. So I'm gonna run them one at a time, that way I don't fully unseat that rubber hole. And then next we'll measure so that we've got enough wire to go the distance all the way to the rear of the vehicle. So an update, I ended up having to cut the power wire. And the reason I'm doing this will be the side that hooks up to the battery itself. Fuse is still here. I had to add some wire, which I'm gonna end up tying back into the original wire that came with it, and I'm going to put some of the wire back into the vehicle, that way I can have it on a rocker switch. The reason I'm doing that is because I don't want this module being powered on all the time, even when I'm not inside the vehicle using it. So I could have ran it to an ignition switch so the power would have gotten from the ignition, but sometimes if I'm parked, maybe I want to, and I have the vehicle off, maybe I want to have the lights on for whatever reason, showing off or at a Jeep show or what have you. So that being said, I'm running it to a rocker switch, that way I can have power to the module anytime the rocker switch is flipped on. So then I'll end up zip tying it all through here, but that's the latest and greatest. And the good news is this wire that goes to the front rock light, that one is long enough, so I got very lucky. The one over here on the driver's side, I zip tie a little bit because I don't need all that much wire, since the rock light for that one's going to be up here, and I'll feed it up through here. So just a video for myself. This yellow wire transitions into this blue wire. The yellow goes to that control box for the underglow, but the yellow goes into the blue. The blue comes all the way out here, ran it this way, and then the blue turns into this red and yellow that I'm now gonna have to tie here to here. So yeah, food for thought. This goes to the tail light that has the built-in amber turn signal. This red and black that turns into the blue that then ties into the yellow that goes to the control box of the underglow. They'll all be tied into one right there. To add to the previous video that I just made, I don't understand how this works. This wire comes out of here, but it's tied into this black wire, into the factory black wire. Maybe it's ground, and then this green-white comes down and it ties into this wire here. So maybe this has to be grounded? Damn, that's hot. So a YouTube subscriber wanted to know how I had mine wired up in my Jeep. If you don't own a Jeep, don't wire it up this way. If you do own a Jeep, still, you may not want to wire it up this way. Just because the wires that I tapped into happen to work for me doesn't mean that they're going to work for you. I suggest getting a DMM, a digital multimeter, turning on your turn signals while you've got these wires hooked up. If you do have it back here, if you decide to do it another place, regardless, I would always get a DMM, a digital multimeter, just to confirm that 12 volts are going through that line whenever you activate the brake light or whenever you activate the turn signal. Now that being said, I ran all 3 of my wires back here, the brake, the driver's side turn signal, and the passenger side turn signal. All those wires are coming back here. You can see some through here. So that's how I've got mine set up. For example, my driver's side turn signal, which is this guy, I've got that one tapped into this wire. And of course, I've got my speed flasher. I forget what these called. You guys are going to correct me in the comments, but this essentially takes away the hyper flash. So whatever the name is of this thing that takes away the hyper flash, I've got it tied into that guy. And then
from there, it's tied into here, right? So that's the driver's side turn signal. So whenever the driver's side turn signal activates, that guy flashes out. The reason that I've got the carpet out, by the way, on both sides is because I was testing these brake lights that have the integrated turn signals in them. And that's why you've got a mess of wire. That's why I have a mess of wires over here. And then for the passenger side turn signal, I've got that wire coming out right here, and it's going all the way around, and I've got it tied up in one of these wires. I'm not going to show you guys which wire I tapped into for those of you that have a Jeep Wrangler, because again, you need to get your year model's wiring schematic off the internet. There's free ones out there, and they'll tell you which colored wire does what, like which one of these is the brake wire, which one of these is the turn signal wire, stuff like that. And using that schematic, that's how you will tie these rock lights in. And only do that if you even want the turn signal functions and the brake light functions. For me, that's the entire reason that I bought these smart lights. One, yeah, they look cool parking, but because I've been rear-ended in my previous vehicle, I've got a little bit of PTSD. So at night, I want to have as much visibility as possible whenever I hit my brakes. So for me, the rock lights came in handy for that. So yeah, that's the rundown of how I've got these things wired up. You will want a anti-hyperflash module. Words are hard. I don't know what that thing is called. I already had it because of this guy. If you guys have questions, let me know.